If you're an external processor like I am, learn to read the other person. So if they are silent, it's not indifference, it's just concentration. They are processing things inwardly. And if you're an internal processor, learn to read an external processor's way of communicating. So if they're talking a lot, see it as engagement, not control. They are engaged with what you're saying and what you're doing. They're excited. They're processing it outwardly. And I am an external processor. I like to talk and I process my thoughts, how I'm feeling externally. I process as I am talking. And to an internal processor, this is often overwhelming. And this is, you know what, this is something I've recently learnt. And weirdly, I didn't even realize it was a big issue. It didn't feel to me like it was an issue. But on a recent date, it was a bit of an issue. I didn't realize until afterwards, fair enough, absolutely fine. But it's a lesson learnt. I made the mistake of, and I think everyone can, when you're talking to someone and they're just giving you kind of short answers or they're quiet, you might mistake that for someone who's not bothered or not interested. And this is where awareness of these communication style comes in. Because for me, this was a big learning curve. I'm not gonna lie. I have dated people who are internal processors, and I made the mistake of thinking they're not interested. But actually they were just trying to process everything we were talking about in their natural way. We all think a lot naturally, everyone does, but the difference is how you release those thoughts, either internally or externally. And we often tend to lean towards one or the other. So an external processor, like me, most of the time, we tend to articulate our ideas. I need to articulate my ideas, my thoughts and my feelings. I need to talk about them out loud. This is how I process how I'm feeling most of the time. I wouldn't say it's all the time. I do think, sometimes I overthink. Humans, we are complicated things, But most of the time I would say I'm an external processor. I do like to talk, as you can tell from these videos. To an external processor, their talking isn't their final draft. It's the start. It's that they are trying to work out how they are feeling. They're working it out as they're talking, they're thinking about it, they're processing their feelings, right? So they don't need instant solutions. They just need an ear to help listen and to work things out, I guess. The internal process, on the other hand, this person needs quiet time to reflect and to think inwardly about how they're feeling, about their emotions, whatever is going on, to weigh up how they're feeling. These kind of people, they don't need to outwardly express or outwardly talk about how they're feeling. They think about these things internally and they process things by thinking inside their heads, as it were, not with their mouths. So if you date an internal processor, you might experience little quiet times of silence, because they're thinking about what you've said. They're not necessarily talking out loud and processing, which is what I do. And they might give you short answers, not because they don't care though, it's because they're still constructing, their thoughts around whatever you're talking about or whatever's going on. But how can you build a bridge over this, this gap in communication styles? Well, first, as I've said, is awareness. Becoming aware. If you are an external processor like me, be aware that, you might come across people that are internal processors, and it can be very overwhelming for someone who, thinks more in their heads rather than releasing those thoughts outwardly, if that makes sense. And if you are an internal processor, the same goes. Just be aware that some people do like to talk a lot, and it's not necessarily, it can be a red flag sometimes, but when it comes to things like this, just simple communication styles, it's just because that's the way they process. You could simply just address it. You could just say, hey, do you mind if I externalize what I'm thinking right now? Do you mind if I just talk about it? And you might be able to bounce off each other. As I said, it can be a really good conversation starter for some things, but you ask permission. Almost, not permission, but see how they are feeling and if they would be okay for you to talk about how you're feeling and process it outwardly. If you're an external processor like I am, learn to read the other person. So if they are silent, it's not indifference, it's just concentration. They are processing things inwardly as you're talking. They're not bored, which a lot of people can mistake silence for, right? I think we've all been there. We've all been like, oh, You know, have I said something wrong? Are they bored? Because people are quiet sometimes. But 99% of the time, they're probably just an internal processor. And if you're an internal processor, learn to read an external processor's way of communicating. So if they're talking a lot, see it as engagement, not control. They are engaged with what you're saying and what you're doing. They're excited. They're processing it outwardly. So if this video has helped you, I'd love it if you give it a quick like. It will tell YouTube to share it to other people who it may help. Please as well, leave a comment in the comments. Let us know, are you an internal or external processor? And if you've got any questions for us, if you would like to see any specific videos, please let me know. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.